This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Okay, let's finish off this Diddy trial, day 12, week 3. They ended off with Brian Steele continuing to cross Mia, that assistant for Diddy. Let's get right into it. Okay, so they come back. And the judge says, Miss Smizer, anything? And AUSA Smizer says, they gave us a video they intend to use in violation of court's order. Judge, Mr. Steele. Steele says, it's a very short video, a happy birthday to Mr. Combs in 2014. It shows her demeanor. Judge says, it's cumulative. Why wasn't it turned over earlier? Steele says, I only got it last night. It's a video and audio. The court should know I gave over impeachment days ago. I don't do that. I know the court doesn't know me. Judge, how long? Steele, 8 seconds. AUSA, no, it's 20 seconds. And they gave us the exhibits before and after this one, 1749 and 1751. I don't know why they withheld this one. Judge, I don't understand what you just said. When did you decide to use it? Steele, yesterday. Judge, 1750 is excluded. Combs Shapiro, I understand it's 30 seconds, shows different than how she's presented herself here. Judge says, when was it marked with a number? Shapiro, I don't know. We had to redact it. Judge says, when did the defense team review it? Shapiro says, yesterday. Judge, why was it not reviewed? Shapiro says, we didn't even think of it until we saw how she presented herself. Judge, how is that possible? Combs' lawyer says, let me try. Judge says, the court's order said you have to establish good cause. That's why I'm asking. And there's his multiple lawyers speaking on the same issue, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so then they just get into it. Can we just email everyone our position? Sure. Okay, so then Shapiro says, some of the internet think we have figured out who Mia is. Some people on the internet think they have figured out who Mia is. We got this video also from random people on the internet. We don't think this was ever posted on our social media. It was some random website. Should we show it to you? The video shown not in public gallery. It's already been redacted. Blah, blah, blah. The AOSA says they waited until direct was over. Judge says, when did the defense see it? Yesterday. Judge says it was marked 1750. Shapiro says, I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. The video is precluded after the number of social media posts the defense has used it. It's cumulative. The defense theory is dubious. Let's see. Steele says, can ask if she sent it. Yes. Steele says, I'm going to ask about scrapbooks. The prosecutor and I have a disagreement. I have 3 copies, one for the jurors to pass around. The honorable prosecutor and I disagree. Can you give it to them for a multiple of minutes? Bring Mia back in then with the jury. Okay, so Steele says, what's the Breakfast Club? Mia says, the name of our camp, Puff's friends group, still partying at breakfast. I was invited in once. Steele says, this message from South Africa, you pounded hashtag, this is Diddy fan club. Yes, it was run by a girl shamelessly promoted Puff. She was so sweet. Steele says, he supposedly drugged and hard-r'd you on his birthday, November 4th. How did you not mark that? Mia, I want to forget it. I pushed it down. Steele, are you finished? Mia says yes. Steele says, you put aside to say you saw Mr. Combs abuse your sister, your best friend Cassie. You put it aside to post this? Mia said yes. You wrote this. Puff at iHeart. Steele says, what are you doing here? Mia says, promoting Puff's appearance on Black-ish. It's a comedy show. Steele, Were you aware of Me Too movement? That was a great movement. Mia says, yes. Steele says, what are these? Mia says, me and Puff are at Burning Man, then on Black-ish. Combs Steele says, you love Miss Ventura? You meant every word on your social media account? Mia says, I didn't mean every word on my account, but I do love Cass. Steele says, what is this? Mia says, a pop-up shop for D-Rock's brand, Invisible Bully. Steele, you promoted Mr. Combs? Yes. Steele says, you're saying this is not the way you felt. The government says, objection. Judge says, sustained. Steele says, how about you, the best unicorn rock star alien? She says, I was trying to say it unique. Steele says, who are the people in this photo? Mia says, Mama Combs, Christian, D-Rock, Fahim, Tron. During these IDs, Combs is whispering to Angolfino. Steele says, you worked through March of 2017? Mia says, it was confusing. On December 6, 2016, you were notified. I was getting mixed messages, she says. Combs Steele, what was this? Mia says, I was promoting the Bad Boy reunion tour. I was doing the documentary on it. Steele says, I'm going to show you something. DX 1700. Remember this? She says, yes, I remember this. You did this? Mia says, yes, it was me. Steele says, you made this and gave it to Mr. Combs. Mia said, yes. What did you write at the top? Says, Puff, sometimes life goes at catastrophic speed. I hope you can sit back and consider. I made this book of articles from 1991 to now. Steele says, did you mean those words? Mia says, yes. He said to me that I used to look at the world the way you do, but now that I've done everything, it was sad. Steele says, the man you say ruined your life. Mia says, I can tell you what my therapist said. Steele says, how could you do this? Mia says, it's called psychological abuse. No one did anything. Steele says, what could be more terrible? And the government objects. Okay, and then it says, Mia says, there are textbooks out there. It's called Abusive Relationship. Mia says, abusive relationships are not limited to that. There was no streaming documentaries about this. No one flinched at this behavior. They do a sidebar, and then they come back. Steele says, what is it that you confronted him and said? You have violated me sexually or otherwise. And he said, I need your help. Objection. Overruled. What is it that you... Okay. Then Mia says, after St. Bart's, I confronted him about this behavior. Not the other thing. Steele says, you told Cassie she's a superstar and should get the money. I don't remember that. Steele says, aren't you lying about Mr. Combs' behavior? I have not lied to anyone at all. Steele says, isn't it true it did not happen as many times as you said? Mia says, everything I said in this courtroom is true. Steele says, why did you make him a scrapbook? Mia says, you could talk to an expert about talk to an expert about sexual assault. Steele says, could we hand the scrapbook to the jurors? Judge says, take a brief look at for a couple of minutes. The scrapbook's passed around. Combs, Steele, Mia, let me ask you, how did you make this scrapbook? She says, I researched it for archives. And then Steele says, archives in the library? In his company. Steele says, but you did all the work? I did. Steele says, did you make Mr. Combs a birthday video? Mia says, I put one together. I asked people if they wanted to send in a video. Steele says, I want to ask you about the last 4 digits. Starts reading about objection. Judge says, just ask her if she recognizes her number. Mia says, I do. Steele says, let's read these messages. I'll be KK. Mia says, my life is over. I might as well. And then KK says, call me back or I'm calling your parents. Mia says, I'm so sorry. I'm with Laura Gomez. Steele says, KK, I am not going to. I'm not going to say it. Effing tell you. Wait. Effing tell you. You are. And then Mia says, the pain hurts so bad. Who is Laura Gomez? Steele asks. She was the HR at Combs Enterprises. Steele says, you start. I'm going to take my life. My life is over. Mia says, yes. Steele, you could have quit. Mia says, I didn't see it that way. Steele says, why? Mia says, that's a pretty psychological explanation. I was around them 24 hours a day. This is all I knew. Yeah, this does sound a little ridiculous. Then Steele says, Your Honor, we'll let the jury go for the weekend. Don't read anything about this case. You have been notified to turn off notification. You have your notifications turned off. Yeah, okay, so they go home and don't read anything about the case. And it says, what is the authenticity of the last exhibit? Defense says, we got it from the government. AUSA says, but it's different format with a different known number. Mr. Steele suggested, the judge says, Mr. Steele suggested that green boxes are Miss Coram, but that's an unknown person. Defense says, it's KK. We spoke with Miss Coram's counsel. We had to put this into another format. There's crashes our computer. Judge says, Mia said that number was Miss Coram. You can explore on redirect. Then Combs' lawyer says, Mia affected yesterday. Maybe it was real, maybe it was not. We have a right. And then the judge says, if you're using the exhibit as impeachment, tell me later. I can't read your mind. Then Combs' lawyer says, we're trying to be courteous and move the trial along, but... And then she says he has PTSD. The government says, we'd have 403 objection 2. We can write a letter about this over the weekend, Combs' lawyer says. It's a 20-second happy birthday video for the good of the order. Maybe the parties can come up with an order. And the government says next witness are Enrique Santos, Eddie Garcia, who I understand invoked the Fifth Amendment. We can immunize at 8:55 a.m. Then hotel custodian. We'll make an email list. They have applied for Rule 17 subpoenas. We want it opposed by Sunday docket. If he runs out of minutes, can he get more? Judge says, I can order more relief if wanted. Okay, adjourned. Well, that's that. I don't know. It's mixy about Mia to me, because it's like, does she just hate Diddy down inside? Is she just trying to back up Cassie? Did she really feel like she was trapped, or did she kind of like it? You never know these things. But, some people are mentally manipulated like that. So, I don't know. We don't know, So it's really up to what the jury feels. And, they're able to see the woman's emotions and everything during the testimony. And we can't. So, we don't know if it feels genuine or not. We're just reading words. Anyways, this is Jordan Tower with JT News. Let me know what you guys think. Peace.